Friends, prepare to delve into one of the most amazing and mysterious accounts to emerge from the hills of Medjugorje. If you have ever felt your heart restless, searching for a sign, for confirmation that heaven really does touch earth, then this story is for you. Let us unravel a specific moment during one of the apparitions of the Queen of Peace where something completely unexpected happened. Not only did the visionary have the grace to see Our Lady, but another presence appeared at her side, a vision that brought with it not one, but two divine signs, which confirmed the heavenly significance of that moment. Many times in our lives, we feel lost, searching for light in the midst of darkness, waiting for an intervention that will show us the way. And it is precisely in these moments that prayer becomes our beacon. Before I even begin to narrate the chilling details of this apparition, how about we unite our intentions? Think right now about that loved one, a child, a parent, a friend, a relative, who is going through difficulties, who needs healing, peace, conversion, or simply to feel God's love. Write their name here in the comments, now. During the rosary prayer that we will do at the end of this video, I will include each of these names in my main prayer, asking for the intercession of the Queen of Peace for all of them. Don't put it off. The power of community prayer is immense, and at this moment, we can together form a powerful chain for those we love. Medjugorje. A name that resonates in the hearts of millions of believers around the world, a place where, for decades, heaven seems to open up to offer comfort, guidance and, above all, the urgent message of peace. Imagine yourself transported back to the early days, when amazement mixed with faith, when young visionaries, simple peasants, were chosen to be the bearers of a direct communication from on high. The atmosphere was one of intense expectation, of a mystery unfolding before astonished eyes and hearts thirsting for God. The apparitions were not one-off events, but moments of profound spiritual intimacy, where the barrier between the earthly and the divine seemed to dissolve. The visionaries, immersed in ecstasy, described the indescribable beauty of Our Lady, her smile, her words, her gestures. These were encounters that transformed their lives and profoundly impacted those who were fortunate enough to witness, or even be nearby during, these sacred moments. With each apparition, a new layer of the divine plan for humanity seemed to be revealed, always centered on conversion, prayer, fasting, faith and peace, essential elements of the message of the Queen of Peace. But there was one specific apparition, on a day that became unforgettable for the visionary and for a few who were nearby, where the experience went beyond the usual. The visionary prepared herself, as usual, with her heart on fire with expectation. The place of the apparition, perhaps in the rocky hills, perhaps in a simple room, was charged with an invisible energy, a sacred tension. Suddenly, the silence was broken by an intense brightness, a light that did not belong to this world. And then she appeared, the Virgin Mary, Queen of Peace, enveloped in her heavenly glory, with her beauty that transcends any human description. The visionary fell to her knees instantly, her eyes fixed on her, her voice choked with emotion and the pure love that emanated from her presence. Our Lady began to speak. Her words, although simple, carried the weight of heaven, messages of love, of warning, of hope for a world in distress. It was an intimate dialogue between mother and spiritual daughter, a moment of immeasurable grace. But in the midst of this sublime experience, something caught the visionary's attention in a completely new way. Her eyes, accustomed to the singular vision of the Heavenly Mother, perceived another figure, distinct, luminous, standing reverently beside Our Lady. It was not just a figure. It was a real presence, with a definite form and a light of its own, although subdued by the glory of Mary. Who was this figure? It was not Jesus, whose presence in apparitions is often described differently. It was a celestial entity, a being of light, who seemed to be there in the role of a guard, a companion, or perhaps a silent messenger. The visionary felt a mixture of awe and reverence at this unexpected vision. This secondary but powerful presence, beside the Queen of Peace, gave that moment an even greater solemnity, as if heaven was sending not only the mother, but also her highest servants to witness and protect the delivery of that particular message. And as if the vision of a celestial entity at Mary's side were not enough to mark that encounter as extraordinary, two divine signs manifested themselves at that very moment, sealing the veracity and importance of that apparition. The first sign was visual and striking, an irradiation of light that did not come only from Our Lady, but seemed to emanate from a specific point around her and around the figure that accompanied her. It was not the soft, heavenly light that usually surrounded her. It was a more intense, pulsating light that expanded for a brief moment, almost like a celestial flash, which the visionary was able to perceive distinctly, and which, according to close reports, even caused a perception or a change in the brightness of the environment for some of those who were physically nearby, outside of the ecstasy. It was a clear sign of divine intervention, a signature from heaven attesting that that moment was special, sanctified and charged with a greater purpose. The second sign, perhaps more subtle, but equally supernatural and moving, was the manifestation of a perfume. Not a common perfume of earthly flowers, but an ethereal, powerful and indescribably pure fragrance, with an aroma that recalled the most delicate and heavenly of jasmines or roses, but which came from nowhere, except from the very presence of the Virgin. It was a perfume that permeated the air around the visionary at the exact moment of the apparition, an aroma that seemed to carry the essence of Mary's purity and holiness. This olfactory signal, repeated at other times of apparitions in various places around the world, is often interpreted as a perfume of holiness, a tangible way for Mary to make herself present to our senses, a reminder of her immaculate purity and the invitation to holiness that she extends to us. At that moment, together with the vision of the angel and the brightness of the divine light, the heavenly perfume was a caress from Mary, a consolation, and yet another unmistakable confirmation that the one who was there was truly the Mother of God, accompanied by her heavenly hosts. For the visionary, seeing this angelic figure next to the Queen of Peace and witnessing these two divine signs, the intense light and the heavenly perfume, was not just a spectacle. It was a profound theological and spiritual lesson experienced in ecstasy. The presence of the heavenly being confirmed the divine authority of Mary's mission in Medjugorje, showing that she is not alone, but is supported and protected by the heavenly hosts. It was as if heaven itself were forming a court around the Queen of Peace, attesting to the urgency and seriousness of her messages. The light was the confirmation of the presence of God the Father, sanctifying the encounter. The perfume was the unmistakable mark of Mary, her maternal tenderness and her call to purity. These signs were not only for the visionary, but through her, for all of us. They show us that the peace that Mary offers is not an earthly and fragile peace, but a divine peace, protected by heaven, achieved through sincere conversion and a life of prayer. They reinforce the truth that in Medjugorje, what happens is of heavenly origin and has a redemptive purpose for the world. And now, let us connect this extraordinary apparition with our daily reality. Just as the visionary received signs and the presence of a heavenly being to confirm the importance of Mary's message, we too need signs in our lives. Not necessarily spectacular supernatural ones, but daily confirmations of God's presence. The peace we feel after prayer, the strength to forgive, the ability to love in the midst of difficulties, the faith that sustains us in tribulations. The Queen of Peace comes to Medjugorje and speaks to us incessantly about prayer, fasting, faith, conversion and peace, because she knows that it is through these pillars that we will find refuge and strength to face the challenges of the modern world, marked by turmoil, fear and division. Forgiving those who have offended us, seeking inner peace, having a more converted heart, increasing our unshakable faith, persevering in daily prayer. These are the apparitions of Mary in our daily lives, the signs of her loving presence that guide us. And just as in the prayer that began this video, I invite you again. Think of those who still need to feel this peace, this conversion, this faith. Think of your loved ones who are far from God, those who are suffering, those who are desperate. Write more names in the comments. Let's put them all in the rosary prayer that we will do now, entrusting them to the feet of the Queen of Peace, who always intercedes for us with her Son Jesus. Prayer is our greatest strength, our greatest act of love for our neighbor, and the most concrete response to the call of Medjugorje. This story of Medjugorje, with the appearance of a heavenly being next to Mary and the two divine signs, is a powerful reminder that we are not alone in this journey of faith. Heaven is with us, guiding and protecting us through the Queen of Peace. May this story inspire you to seek the presence of God and Mary in your own life, through prayer and by living their messages. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on this particular apparition, the presence of that heavenly figure, and what the two signs mean to you. Leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts and reflections on this fascinating topic. Your participation enriches our community of faith. And if you were touched by this story, please like this video so that it reaches more people thirsting for hope. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content on faith, spirituality, and the messages of Mary. And share this video with friends and family who can be edified by this powerful narrative. May the Queen of Peace bless us all.